Rates of infertility that are not associated with age have increased around the world, especially in men. Could toxins in the environment be playing a role? As Men's Health Month comes to an end, I've invited the fabulous and the brilliant Dr. Raquel Hammonds, who is not only a naturopathic MD, she also has a master's in public health. She is my brilliant, my beautiful friend. Raquel, I'm so happy that you're here to discuss toxins and male fertility and what to do about it.
Thank you so much for that beautiful intro. I feel so special. Thank you.
You are so special.
But yes, it's totally overlooked in the fertility world because we have so many men come in who have these, seemingly very healthy lifestyles, but their sperm count and the quality of their sperm is very, very low or not optimal for their upcoming fertility cycle. And that is due to endocrine disruptors.
Isn't it funny? We talk a lot about women being overlooked, women being under-researched, women being sort of receiving subpar care. How is it though that when it comes to men, the male conversation seems so left out of fertility, and we constantly have to remind women, like, it's not all your fault.
Yeah.
Men are part of the equation too.
I know. And I always get that on when I do my free calls, my free 15-minute consults through the app, through the Fertility Answers app. I always get back from women. They're like, I've been trying for 2 years, but it couldn't be my husband. It has to be me. And I'm like, no, it could be. And a lot of times what women use as a marker is, oh, maybe because he has kids from the past, it can't be affecting him right now. And so I always have to explain, like, no, even if he conceived in the past and it was okay, he could have been exposed to pesticides or mercury, all kind of things that could be influencing his sperm right now. So
got it. No, that's exactly right. I feel like I'm constantly saying that same message.
Yeah.
So what is it about the environmental pollutants, with men, women, and children, that does do this endocrine disruption? I feel like we need to describe that and just define it. What is an endocrine disruptor?
Yes.
What does that really mean? And what's the impact of that to men?
Okay. So I feel like in recent years, people are kind of opening up to this idea of like endocrine disruptors. But an endocrine disruptor, it's kind of in the name. So it disrupts our endocrine system, and it works in 3 ways. These endocrine disruptors can either mimic your hormones, literally your reproductive hormones. They can mimic them.
Wow.
They can block them completely from being produced, or they can bind to the receptor and affect the amount of the hormone that is being pushed out. So they literally disrupt your endocrine system and your reproductive organs when you're trying to reproduce.
So, as I understand it too, in particular, when I've had male colleagues and really dear friends who have gone through chemotherapy, in particular with stem cell transplants, that even the volume of semen and stem cells has changed in their testes. And I have had, my friends text me in horror, like, my balls shrunk.
Yeah.
In horror. And, this, that it can actually increase penis size. And I feel like, and I don't have any right to be talking about this because I'm a woman and not a man. And I hate it when men talk about the female experience. Yeah. But I do feel like, what they do in the locker room is like, comparing sizes, and size is everything, right? And it's like this big cultural thing about comparing, and like, that makes me a man.
Yeah.
So I really want to understand, are these chemicals, are these types of foods, are these environmental, what is it? Because this is a really big deal that cannot be overlooked. We even see it in the donor sperm market where, count has dropped so significantly, even in the people who are like the 1% of the population with the best sperm, out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because these endocrine disruptors are everywhere. From your PCBs to your dioxins to the phthalates that we talk about all the times. They are not only in the foods we get from the grocery store, but they are in the germicide that people spray on, maybe greenery around your apartment or in your front yard. If you left your water bottle in your car all day and you come outside, even if it says BPA free, if you leave a plastic bottle in your car and you come back and you drink it, you are being exposed to those phthalates, because they literally make the bottle plastic and able to be like bent. That's what makes it do that. So you have to be very careful. So that's what has happened, is that it seeps into our food supply, our water supply, how we go outside and breathe the air. It seeps into everything that we do. So it's no surprise that men and women have been affected a ton by this.
Oh, wow. It feels pretty
Yeah.
overwhelming because I feel like in the manufacturing process, we're constantly pumping everything full of chemicals. When it
Yes.
comes to air and maybe lifestyle choices that we make, I mean, I know a couple of your favorites that we need to reiterate today, but sort of air, smoking to not smoke, and
Yeah.
water quality and the plastics. What are a few of the things that people can do that are really positive and actionable changes that aren't so overwhelming?
Right, right. Some of the things that I always tell people is that your body is so intelligent, right? And so we have this liver, we have this detoxification system inside of our bodies, but our job is to get rid of everything that is stopping your body from doing what it was designed to do. So one of my favorite things to tell men when they come into the clinic and I get to see their sperm analysis, one of the first things I say is buy organic if you can. Everybody cannot afford it, and I totally understand. But the things that that could have had like any type of pesticides from a farmer's garden and things like that, is to try to buy organic, like strawberries. There's a list called the Dirty Dozen.
I love that list.
Yeah, strawberries are always at the top. So if you can buy organic strawberries, that's always the first place to start, is to start going organic. And once you do that, you can slowly start adding in those other things, like making sure that you are doing things to support your liver. Like making sure you're taking glutathione, which is an amazing antioxidant for men.
Yes, so
Because
good.
it totally helps to recruit your liver to say, okay, I've encountered a toxin, now let me get rid of it.
I've heard, now that I'm a huge proponent of the Myers cocktail that you offer,
Yes,
getting my IV drifts. I mean, post chemo, when I was dealing with chronic fatigue, I had to have those Myers cocktails. I had to have B vitamin injections. Then when I found out there's a whole cocktail and an IV hydration I could do, and then doing the glutathione. I have heard stories where people are super, super toxic. Sometimes the glutathione actually gives them like too much of a toxic dump and they feel kind of flu-like afterwards. Have you seen that? Is that real or is that a myth?
No, that's real. That's real.
Okay.
And a lot of people actually, it depends on the clinic, because you can cause harm. If you do not know the mechanism of action or how something works, you should not give it a
Yes,
million
got
percent.
it.
Yeah. And so what happens is, that's so true. That's like when people get chelation. That's why you never want to get chelation and let it's by a trained, either naturopathic doctor or somebody that knows, because you'll feel horrible because your body is literally dumping all of these toxins.
Wow.
So the best thing to do is to make sure, one of the first things that we do at our clinic, or anyone who's been trained will know, is that you always want to check those liver markers and your kidney markers to make sure that when you do take glutathione or any supplement, that your body can break it down properly. Because some people just they're holding on to it. So that's why you always
right.
Yeah, you always want to check that kidney function and that liver function first before you give like high dose glutathione.
Okay. And then same thing with water. So I've always been really particular about water since I had my son. And I'm one of those people that is like, okay, I'd rather take everything out of my water through the best detoxification system that's out there than add minerals back into it. So, water choices, there are certain, it's sort of horrifying to think that we live in a country where not everybody has access to clean water. I mean, look at the catastrophe that happened in Flint, Michigan. I know. It's still happening. So what about water quality? What are the concerns in water that people need to be mindful of?
Yes, I love it. This is so funny because I was literally like going back and forth with Casey on your team about some of the things that are allowed. And one of the most disgusting things that I have learned about water supply and about supplements is that it's not the heavy metals don't exist. It's that there is a certain amount that's allowed. It's so nasty. Right. It's like, it's like, why is this even a thing? Like, it should be zero, but it's not. It's not zero.
But see, that drives me crazy, because it's not like we don't have the technology at the city level to remove all the crap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is the possible public health justification that we're allowed any level of heavy metals?
It's like, this is okay. We don't want to give you too much lead, but we will give you just enough.
Right. And it's just enough to save us money in the processing. Makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all.
I mean, even my 6.5-year-old would say, well, that's just dumb, Mama. That's what he would say. He knows.
But it's true. It's so true. And so that answers your question, is that our water supply it's contaminated because there are certain things that are allowed. So you having a water system, it's protecting you and your son to make sure, even if there's only a little bit, my water filter is going to make sure that it's getting rid of the rest of those toxins.
That's right. Look, I feel very, very fortunate in life. I mean, I recognize I'm a privileged white woman who was even able to finance a whole house water filter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I get, because I didn't want my son bathing in chlorine.
Yeah.
I didn't sign him up for swim lessons even in chlorinated water because he has very sensitive skin, and our skin is the biggest organ. So I was really not wanting that, but not everybody has access to that, right?
Oh yeah.
But people can make a choice. They can say, I can have an environmentally conscious water bottle, or I can buy plastic water bottles, right? So even that small change can make a big impact. We do know that people can make better choices either or. If you can afford organic strawberries, get them. If you can't afford organic strawberries, maybe buy a fruit that is high in vitamin C, that is high in antioxidants, that has a skin on it.
Exactly.
Okay. And do you have a favorite? Is like a mango a good choice? Because right now mangoes are in season here in California.
Yes, mangoes, grapefruits, oranges,
great,
apples. All of those have skin. Now, apples, some people will still eat, but you can either, you can peel the skin.
Take the skin off. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Right. So that's what we're all about, right? You and I are all about choice. We're all about empowerment. Now, some choices are harder than others. To smoke or not to smoke. If you're addicted to nicotine, we don't want you to smoke.
I know.
We don't want you to vape.
Yeah,
you're just dumping toxins into your body.
Yeah, and it has an immediate effect on sperm. And that's the thing. We can see it in office when you have been exposed to, like, when you smoke, your arsenic levels are off the charts. So even if you tell us no, I'm probably like, okay, do you smoke? Because the arsenic levels are so high. So you have to be careful. Even if you want to just try to set a goal to stop smoking throughout your wife's fertility, or your girlfriend's, or your partner's fertility cycle.
Don't say forever, right? Yeah. I feel like people can't quit things if it has to be a forever thing, but if it's like, no, just for right now.
Right.
I only need you to not smoke today, and I need you to make that same decision tomorrow, just for the next 3 months while we get while we wash out your sperm and get a new semen sample. That's all.
That's all. Yeah. And to me, what I always notice is that they feel better. All my male patients come to me and they say, man, I feel better. My sex drive is better.
Right.
It's so many more things that you don't notice because your quality of life has been threatened. And that's what I love about naturopathic medicine, is because once you create the conditions for health, once you help somebody learn the right way to live a healthy life, everything else falls into place.
It's why I love you so much. And I love naturopathic medicine too. I feel like it's the mindfulness connection. If you can pick up that cigarette and you can visualize the toxins that are entering your body.
Yes.
If you can try to do a behavioral change like that, I feel like that might be the thing that's missing for people, right? Is that they're like, no, it makes me feel good. No, I want it. I deserve it. We have all these very justified things that we do when we're addicted to something. And it could be our phones. It could be technology. It could be porn. It could be alcohol. It could be cigarettes. It could be anything, when there's that justification in place. But the second you disrupt it, right, and you bring that mindfulness into it, where it's like, I'm going to actually visualize all those toxins going into my body. That's how I feel about it. It's like, oh,
exactly.
It's the same thing with exercise, right? If you can visualize all your cells are getting oxygenated and they're happy and they're energetic and they're throwing a party inside of you. I was trying to teach Dante the other day about why we do certain things to stimulate his killer cells in his body.
Exactly.
And when I was trying to explain to him, I was like, think about it like Pac-Man. You want a lot of those guys in there. And every time you have an invader, they're just going to do their job, And just explaining it to a 6-year-old to try to make that mind-body connection too, because I feel like it's lifelong habits. Like once you have those connections, I think it just helps us, make good choices.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's the same thing with inflammation too, right? Because we talk about all these inflammatory foods that have the same toxic impact.
Yep.
If you can visualize, if I eat this bag of potato chips, I got to visualize the inflammatory impact it's going to have.
Yeah.
If you have an ultimate goal, like fertility, like having
Exactly. Is
like,
it even worth it?
it's not worth it. Like
Not worth
stay
it. Yeah.
focused on the goal. That is such an important thing. Now, one of the last little things about like what can they do, choice or not, is just the natural skin and hair care products. And
Yes.
you know, there are lots of choices out there, but this is one of those things that can get kind of expensive, right?
So expensive.
Yeah.
So expensive.
I have to say, like in my world, this also is, I'm very attached to like hair quality. I have, you know, naturally curly hair, a lot of it, but very thin. And I still use a pretty toxic shampoo, not gonna lie. And I've tried all the ones that you're supposed to.
I know.
Like, I don't like what my hair looks like. Right? But I mean, what about you? Like, is it the same? I mean, have you found something that really works? It's like a natural hair care line for women of color that you love?
Yes. So I am a little biased because I kind of grew up with a sister who was like super natural and I thought she was so weird. I was like, why do you keep like making your hair stuff? That's annoying. Like
she makes her toothpaste too, doesn't she?
Yeah, and like washing, and I thought she was the weirdest person in the world. And then I grew up to be a naturopathic doctor, so it's hilarious. But what I really like is Shea Moisture. Now, I will say for everyone watching, EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group, they have a list of hair care, skin care, anything you can imagine that are the most like non-toxic options. But I love Shea Moisture for my hair because my hair is also naturally curly as well. And so I use their products all the time. So that's my favorite for sure. But I'm sure there are other options too. But Alice, I love that you said like, hey, this is my shampoo and I like it, but you also make healthy lifestyle choices to combat that.
Totally. And I mean, that's what I was going to say is like, I still do my Myers cocktail. I still do my glutathione. I still take my probiotic. I mean, we have to pick our battles. So it's not about finding perfection, but it is about finding balance and knowing that we do have detoxifiers that work, right? Our body does have natural detoxifying systems. What we're advocating is that you don't overdo it because then they will fail. You know, I mean, machinery falters, machinery stops working, and that's what we want to avoid, right? Yep. So it is a pick your battles kind of conversation. Now, real quick, before we leave, talk about obesity and like too high of blood sugar that can actually impact in a similar way this endocrine disruption.
Yes, absolutely. And what's interesting about obesity is that just like Alice said earlier, it activates this inflammatory response. One of the biggest reasons why women with PCOS cannot conceive is because they cannot ovulate, and that's because of insulin resistance. And if you think about, like we said earlier, if you think about that, this is in my control, you know, like sometimes there are endocrine disruptions or things in your body that is affecting your, you know, your body fat content and things like that. But sometimes obesity is because of the foods that we eat and our lack of physical activity. And so when you are, you know, overeating and under exercising, what happens is that your body, it becomes resistant to this insulin, and it's going on this inflammatory cascade. And so your body not only can't ovulate, but it can't reproduce, and it's going to only affect you in the long run. So I always just say, you know, you want to make those decisions right now, you know?
Yes. And I also really wanted to say that, you know, BMI is the marker that we commonly use to measure obesity levels, but we know that it's flawed. So I don't want anybody to be hung up by this number, because if you're ovulating, if you get regular periods, if you don't have side effects of, you know, infertility conditions, if you feel vital, if you have a good sex drive, if your skin looks like Dr. Raquel's, which is like the smoothest, most delicious, amazing skin I've ever seen in my life, you know, you're healthy, right? And so it's like anything that is like an indicator of not being healthy. Look at what choices are leading to something. Like I you know, we get caught up on labels. We don't want to, you know, create like the reverse impact of like, oh, I need to be skinny. It's not about that. It's not about the number, and it's not even about like the BMI percentage. But if you are overweight and you have these things, you know, then we have to look at those choices, and we just advocate to control the controllables, you know, not be perfect, you know, not achieve a certain number, but control the controllables, and, you know, one day at a time kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
We're all about healthy body image too. So I think,
that.
As we wrap up, Dr. Raquel and I are all about just proactive, positive steps. Even the smallest changes to reduce the impact of chemical exposure on your body are possible. And these are not just for women, these are for men. And as we wrap up this Men's Health Month, I think it's really important to focus on that. And also, if you have chemical exposure that you're concerned about in your local area, certainly reach out to us on the Fertility Answers platform, because we have a lot of activists and a lot of advocates, and we can help support you talking to your local government, talking to your city government, your city council men and women, to help clean things up. So as always, I'm so grateful to have these conversations with you, Dr. Raquel. I always learn so much, and I always get energized and empowered, and I'm not kidding. Your skin looks amazing. So
thank you.
I don't know what you're doing. It looks amazing. All right, everybody. We will see you next time. I can't wait to have our next chat. Thanks, Dr. Raquel.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.